Major Japan quake leaves 30 people injured. Trump allows Nvidia to export AI chips to China. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today with me, Daryl Baptist. A major earthquake rocked Japan's northern coast, with the country's meteorological agency recording several tsunami waves reaching the shoreline and injuring at least 30 people. The magnitude 7.6 quake, which struck off Misawa on Japan's Pacific coast, forced residents to flee their homes and left thousands of people without power. The Japan Meteorological Agency issued a tsunami warning, with the quake triggering waves up to 70 centimeters high. It lifted the tsunami warning early today and kept lower-grade advisories in effect for parts of northern Japan for several hours, but those too were eventually cancelled. Some 2,700 homes in Aomori were without power, and there were numerous reports of fire. The quake was also felt in the northern hub of Sapporo, where alarms rang on smartphones to alert the residents. The weather agency has issued an alert for a potential megaquake following yesterday's quake, noting there is a 1 in 100 chance that an 8 magnitude quake or greater could occur within 7 days. Meanwhile, there are no reports of Malaysians affected by the earthquake that struck northeastern Japan. Malaysia's foreign ministry said through the Embassy of Malaysia in Tokyo it is closely monitoring the situation. The ministry added that the embassy remains in close communication with local authorities. It advised Malaysians residing in or travelling in the affected areas to remain vigilant, avoid coastal regions, and follow official guidance from Japanese authorities. Malaysians are also strongly encouraged to register their presence with the Embassy of Malaysia in Tokyo to ensure timely communication and assistance when required. A Beijing court has ordered Malaysia Airlines to pay some families of missing passengers on board flight MH370 over 2.9 million yuan per case in compensation. The rulings are for 8 cases involving 8 passengers. The Chaoyang District People's Court said 47 other lawsuits had been withdrawn after the families settled outside of court with Malaysia Airlines and its international arm. The 8 passengers whose families were granted compensation by the court have been declared legally deceased. The court said the compensation was to cover funeral expenses, emotional distress and other losses. Flight MH370 went missing on the 8th of March 2014. Since 2016, family members of 75 missing passengers have successfully filed 78 lawsuits seeking damages and calling for the establishment of a search and rescue fund, among other demands against Malaysia Airlines and other defendants. Thailand launched airstrikes on its neighbour Cambodia, with both sides trading blame for renewed fighting on their disputed border that has killed 7 Cambodian civilians and a Thai soldier. Around 35,000 people in Thailand have been evacuated from border areas. 5 days of combat this summer between the two nations killed 43 people and displaced around 300,000 on both sides of the border before a truce took effect. Cambodia's information minister said around 20 people were wounded, including a Cambodian journalist who was hit by shrapnel from a Thai rocket.
ជាច្រើនប្រភេទដូចជាកំភ្លើងដៃកំភ្លើងត្បាល់ប្រភេទ60មីលីម៉ែត្រកំភ្លើងត្បាល់ប្រភេទ80មីលីម៉ែត្រកំភ្លើងយន្តប្រភេទ 12.7 និងរថក្រោះគិតមកត្រឹមម៉ោងនេះយោធាថៃមិនទាន់ឈប់បាញ់ប្រហារ
The Thai army said one soldier was killed and 18 others were wounded since fresh fighting began on Sunday. Thailand's Air Force said Cambodia mobilized heavy weaponry, repositioned combat units, and prepared support elements that could escalate military operations. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged both parties to avoid further escalation and recommit to the ceasefire brokered earlier this year. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has strongly condemned an Israeli raid on the East Jerusalem compound of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA.
In reaction to this event, I can tell you that the Secretary-General strongly condemns the unauthorized entry into the United Nations Sheikh Jarrah compound held by UNRWA, located in occupied East Jerusalem by Israeli authorities. This compound remains United Nations premises and is inviolable and immune from any other form of interference.
Dujarric said Guterres urged Israel to immediately take all necessary steps to restore, preserve and uphold the inviolability of UNRWA or UNRWA premises. Meanwhile, UNRWA Chief Felipe Lazzarini also denounced the Israeli authorities' seizure of assets at the compound. Israeli authorities entered the UN agency's offices in a raid they claimed was ordered over unpaid taxes, but was condemned by the agency as a challenge to international law. Under a 1946 convention, the UN and its assets must not be taxed by host countries. Ukraine is short of about $800 million to buy the U.S. weapons it had planned to purchase this year, with the help from its European allies. President Volodymyr Zelensky said talks with leaders of Britain, Germany and France in London had been productive, adding that the peace proposals are being finalized and would be shared with the U.S. on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the Netherlands has announced an additional €700 million in support for Ukraine, with the funding earmarked for military assistance next year.
А не вистачало 1,5 мільярда, але сьогодні Нідерланди, ми вдячні за позитивне рішення щодо програми. Вони виділили 700 мільйонів. Хочу подякувати Діку Схофу, дякую тобі і дякую Нідерландам за таке рішення. Тому розраховуємо на Сполучені Штати Америки, боремось, шукаємо гроші на Перл, працюємо разом з усіма. На сьогодні коаліція
The Netherlands has provided substantial support to Ukraine since the start of the Russian invasion. According to the government, the Netherlands has already committed over €17 billion in support for Ukraine since the beginning of the war. On a related note, Ukraine's European allies put on a show of support for President Zelensky as they express skepticism about parts of the U.S. proposal to end Russia's nearly 4-year invasion. Zelensky first held a meeting in London, or rather, with leaders of Britain, France and Germany before heading to Brussels for talks with the heads of the EU and of NATO. The discussions came after US President Donald Trump accused Zelensky of not reading his administration's proposal on a deal to end the war. That followed days of talks between Ukraine and US officials in Miami that ended on Saturday with no apparent breakthrough. but with Zelensky committing to further negotiations. France's Emmanuel Macron said after the London meeting that they are preparing robust security guarantees and measures for Ukraine's reconstruction. Macron said the main issue was finding convergence between the European and Ukrainian position and that of the US. 100 schoolchildren were released in Nigeria's Niger state after being held captive by kidnappers, with authorities working to secure the freedom of remaining hostages. The children arrived in buses and armored vehicles at the Niger State Government House. Government officials said the children will be scheduled to undergo medical checks before being reunited with their families. Niger State Governor Muhammad Umar Bago expressed optimism about recovering remaining captives. They are part of the children kidnapped last month on the 21st of November from a private Catholic school in Papiri. The Christian Association of Nigeria said 315 students and staff were kidnapped from St. Mary's Co-Educational Boarding School in north-central Niger State. The attack came as the country buckled under a wave of mass abductions. Still ahead, Trump threatens Mexico with even higher tariffs. U.S. President Donald Trump said he had reached an agreement with Chinese President Xi Jinping to allow U.S. chip giant NVIDIA to export advanced artificial intelligence chips to China. The announcement marks a significant shift in U.S. export policy for advanced AI chips. Trump said he had informed Xi that Washington would permit NVIDIA to ship its H200 products to approved customers in China and other countries with continued strong national security. The president said his decision aims to support American jobs, strengthen U.S. manufacturing, and benefit American taxpayers. Trump emphasized that NVIDIA's most advanced chips, the Blackwell series, and forthcoming Rubin processors are not included in the agreement and remain available only to U.S. customers. The announcement comes amid trade tensions between Washington and Beijing, and these two compete for dominance in artificial intelligence technology. In a separate development, Trump has unveiled a $12 billion aid package for American farmers in an effort to boost an industry hit hard by his trade policies. U.S. farmers have been saddled this year with record harvests and lost billions of dollars in soybean sales to China when the nation turned to South American suppliers this fall during stalled trade talks. Farm groups and Republican farm state lawmakers have sought to aid in part to support farmers with purchases of seeds, fertilizers, and other expenses for next year's growing season. Up to $11 billion of the aid is meant for a newly designed Farmer Bridge Assistance Program for row crop farmers hurt by trade disputes and higher costs. The remaining $1 billion is for other crops, and specific details are still being determined. Net farm income could fall by more than $30 billion next year due to a decline in government payments and low crop prices. Farmers are set to receive a near record $40 billion in government payments this year, fueled by ad hoc disaster and economic aid. During his first term, Trump gave about $23 billion in aid to farmers hurt by his trade policies. In a related development, Trump has threatened to impose an additional 5% tariff on Mexico if it does not immediately provide additional water to help U.S. farmers. He accused the country of violating a treaty that outlines water sharing between the neighbors. Under the treaty, Mexico must send 1.75 million acre-feet of water to the U.S. from the Rio Grande through a network of interconnected dams and reservoirs every 5 years. Trump noted that Mexico owes the U.S. 800,000 acre-feet of water due to violations of the treaty over the past 5 years. He demanded Mexico to release 200,000 acre-feet of water before 31st of December and more soon after that date. UK police have arrested 2 more people over an alleged robbery attempt involving the use of pepper spray at a Heathrow Airport car park. Police were called to Terminal 3's multi-storey car park following reports that multiple people had been injured by a toxic substance. According to police, 2 women were robbed of their suitcases after they got out of a car park lift. The men who robbed them then sprayed what is believed to be pepper spray, affecting others in the vicinity. At least 21 people, including a 3-year-old girl, needed medical attention after the incident. Officers previously arrested 1 person, a 31-year-old man who was detained near the scene. London's Metropolitan Police said 2 further suspects had been detained, a 24-year-old man arrested on suspicion of robbery and assault, and a 23-year-old woman on suspicion of conspiracy to commit robbery. Brazilian police have arrested a man suspected of involvement in the theft of artworks from the Mario de Andrade Library. The man was reportedly identified through security camera footage that captured the perpetrators during the incident. Brazilian police said efforts are ongoing to locate the second individual allegedly involved in the theft. On Sunday, 8 engravings and 5 prints were stolen from the library. The artwork were part of a joint exhibition with the São Paulo Museum of Modern Art. According to investigators, the 2 suspects entered the library, subdued a security guard and 2 visitors, and exited with the artworks through the main entrance. The city of São Paulo has contacted Interpol in an effort to prevent the stolen pieces from being sold internationally. 13 inmates died at the weekend in a prison in Ecuador that has seen 44 killed in violence in the past month. The latest deaths occurred on Sunday at a prison in Machala and are now under investigation. The state prison authority said the bodies were found by police after the detention of an explosive device outside the prison. The explosion, about 100 meters from the prison, was caused by a drone used to distract prison guards. Autopsies and routine procedures are being carried out to determine the causes of death. 31 inmates died in the same prison last month, many by asphyxiation, after a deadly armed riot. Mass killings are common in Ecuador's prisons, which have become operational centers for rival drug trafficking gangs. Over in Bolivia, 2 protesters died after being shot at a blockade of a trash dump in central Cochabamba department. Garbage has been piling up for nearly 2 weeks in the small town of Colcapirua as a group of protesters blocked access to the municipal disposal site. Local media reported a local farmers' union is worried about the landfill's potential expansion and is demanding its boundaries be delineated. A confrontation broke out between the protesters and municipal officers over access to the dump. Police then intervened with tear gas and made arrests. Next up in sports, Malaysia to battle Indonesia for men's team badminton title.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Welcome back to World Today. National men's doubles pair Man Wei Chong and T Kai Woon emerged as Malaysia's heroes as they moved one step closer to ending their two-decade wait for a SEA Games men's team gold medal after coming from behind to get past Thailand 3-1 to reach the final of the 2025 edition in Pathum Thani. Malaysia fell behind when their main singles player, Leong Jun Hao, went down 15-21, 15-21 to home favourite and 2023 world champion Kunlavut Vititsan. The momentum swung Malaysia's way when 2022 world champions Aaron Chia and So Woo Yik restored parity at 1-1 with a hard-earned 21-18, 21-19 win over Supak Jomko and Pirachai Sukpun. Second singles shuttler Justin Ho then pushed Malaysia ahead thanks to a straight-set victory over Panichapon Tiraratakul 21-10, 21-17. That set the stage for Wei Chong and Kai Woon to step up and seal Malaysia's place in the final for a fifth consecutive edition. They delivered the decisive blow by overcoming Dechapol Puavaranukro and Pakapon Tiraratsakul 21-14, 18-21, 21-17. Malaysia now have a chance to make amends of their 2023 edition final loss against arch-rival Indonesia in the final, slated to be held this Wednesday. Meanwhile, the national women's football team have been eliminated from the SEA Games after losing to Myanmar 3-0 in their Group B match at the Thai National Sports University in Chonburi. Myanmar carved out a comfortable 2-0 lead before half-time, with Sun Tor Thor scoring in the 26th minute and Mei Tet Lu in the 35th minute. The national team tried to mount a comeback in the second half, but all hope was lost when they were down to 10 players after Noor Adriana Zam Zahiri was shown the red card in the 60th minute, and Myanmar capitalized on the advantage to slot in their third goal through Win Tenggi Tun 5 minutes later. National women's football team head coach Joel Corneli did express satisfaction with the fighting spirit shown by his players against one of the notable teams in the region. He is confident the current squad could achieve better results in the next games with adequate assistance and support. Malaysia will wrap up their campaign with their last match against the Philippines after 2 consecutive losses, with the first being a 7-0 drubbing by defending champions Vietnam. Still on football news, the advantage of playing at home ground should be fully utilised by Johor Darul Takzim or JDT in their match against Shanghai Port FC at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium tonight. If they secure 3 points, the Southern Tigers will put themselves in a comfortable position in Group A in efforts to advance to the next stage. At the moment, JDT are in 7th place in the group, while Shanghai Port are at the bottom without a single win after 5 matches.
They had is the high press and intensity. I mean, they follow man-to-man in different areas of the pitch, and sure, they reduce the time. Is in our league is totally different because we have more time for thinking, for try to building, for try to create something. Half of players immediately they try to reduce this time. Immediately they are so close to you. Immediately they try to give you a duel. But I told you, I'm a positive man today because our team is ready. Our team want to try to give the best.
Meanwhile, Shanghai Port head coach Kevin Muscat wants his players to deliver their best performance during the game.
Clearly, it's a game where we need maximum points. Performances in this competition for various reasons have not lived up to our expectation, with some challenges again, illness within the squad, injuries at the end of a long 11-month campaign in the league. But we will endeavour to do our best because, as I said, it's a game where we need maximum points.
Moving on to the English Premier League, Arne Slot admitted that he did not know whether Mohamed Salah will play again for Liverpool after the Egyptian star was dropped for the Reds' Champions League clash with Inter Milan. Salah was left in England for the fixture at the San Siro following extraordinary criticism of Liverpool boss Slot, which came after he was left on the bench for the third consecutive game in a 3-3 draw against Leeds. The 33-year-old said he felt like he had been thrown under the bus by the club and no longer had a relationship with Slot. The incident sparked reports that Salah could be on his way out in January, despite signing a new contract in April.
I think when I didn't play him anymore, usually players don't like the manager then that much, but he was very respectful to my staff members, to his teammates, and he trained really hard. So to an extent, it was a surprise for me that when I heard after the game that he gave the comments he gave. But as I said, it's not the first and not the last time that when a player doesn't play, I'm not sure if he was emotional or not, but that he says something something similar to what he did. But I think my reaction to that is also clear.
Slot led Liverpool to the title in his first season, but has come under scrutiny this term, and the Salah situation is adding to the pressure he is under. Meanwhile, Cole Palmer will miss Chelsea's Champions League clash with Atalanta as boss Enzo Maresca tries to keep the injury-plagued forward fresh. Maresca confirmed that Palmer had been left out of Chelsea's squad in Bergamo as part of his recovery from a 2-month spell on the sidelines. Palmer was initially troubled by a groin problem and then fractured his toe after stubbing it into a door at home. The 23-year-old made his first start for the Blues since September in Saturday's goalless draw at Bournemouth, and Maresca is not willing to risk him for the Atalanta fixture. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, major Japan quake leaves 30 people injured. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. My name is Darryl Baptist. Salam Malaysia Madani, and have a great day, everybody.